Okay, hi. This is Bob Samuels. Welcome to the TechConnectr's ABM Leaders Collaborative Discussion. I've been in this B2B lead gen world about 20 years. I've worked with lots of you in this discussion. My job has been to figure out best practices and to collaborate with best of breed or best of who's out there. So that's what I do for a living. TechConnector was born out of that a couple of years ago. We're building a platform to help with that. But I'm really excited about working with you all for this particular purpose, which is to put our heads together and give ourselves some comfort, or at least misery loves company kind of thing, but help be a supportive group. And so I'm glad you're here. I would like to go around the room. We've got so many great minds in the room. I think that's going to be the main part of the discussion. But I'd like to go around the room, have you introduce yourselves, introduce what your company does, who do you sell to, what are you experiencing these last 2 or 3 weeks of this shutdown and virus and so forth, and what have you been able to do that's really cool about it, or what are your challenges that you would love to be able to find a solution for? And then I'd like you to, on the lighter side, give a recommendation or two of a book or a movie or TV that's kept you entertained for a while. Does that seem to work for everybody? Was that a yes? Let's see. So
that was a yes.
Yeah.
all right. I told you to be on mute, so I guess that's my problem. So we'll go around the room. I'll start from my top left, which I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but Michael Phelan, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, cool. No, thanks. Yeah, someone's got to start. So I'm going to start with, you guys got to watch The Tiger King. Has everyone seen The Tiger King on Netflix?
Oh, wow. That's controversial. That's a good one.
Yeah, you stole my example. I was going straight in there.
Oh, I got the good one. That's funny. Yeah, so Michael Phelan, I'm the principal and founder of Go-to-Market Pros in Boston. I focus on two things. I focus on helping European governments bring top startup and emerging companies into the US market. I just had 10 companies from Belfast, Northern Ireland in on March 9th to the 13th. We just got in time before coronavirus hit, but at the end of the week, we had cancellations of everything from hotels to meetings to speakers to evening events. It just all blew up that week. I also focus on working a lot in retail tech and ad tech companies, particularly targeting retail and e-commerce. And I would say my focus this quarter is on what drives prospect meetings, and I've been doing a lot of audits of tech companies, trying to figure out what is it exactly that drives those meetings. And what the research comes back and says is that less than 1% of meetings are being driven by content marketing. So it's kind of fascinating, and I'm doing actually a webinar this Friday on that, and also is to cut through.
And is that particularly regarding this situation now, or is that a general theme?
It was actually, that research was done before now. I would say now it's accelerated. It's actually, you need to add more value and be more contextual to get a meeting. Okay. But some of the things that were happening last year, the people who get meetings can have techniques to get them. I would say now they just have to be more empathetic and contextual to make that work.
Okay, thank you. Next, I've got Chris Rack on my top left. How are you, Chris?
Good, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Nice to see you.
Fantastic. I'm Chris Rack, Chief Revenue Officer at Pure B2B. We are a lead generation and lead development provider, primarily to the B2B technology space. We have audiences in like most IT, HR, sales, marketing, finance, and general business. I'm based out of Chicago, currently in my master bedroom where I'm huddled up for the next month. FYI, I have 4 kids, 3 dogs, and a wife all into the same house right now. So if anybody walks in and explodes this, my apologies in advance. So movies wise, I just watched Onward with my family, just released out on just kind of early release. And it was if you haven't caught it yet, really solid, good. Even if you don't have a family, it was still a good flick as well.
Excellent. Thank you. And did you say your challenge right now, or what's working right now for you?
What's working right now for us is kind of what's always worked for us, right? The foundation of my team has always been, we call it be human, right? So just taking a human approach to our prospecting, our marketing, our methodologies, and all of that. And funny enough, most of the planet is now catching on, especially in the B2B space, and trying to do the same thing, which has been our standard for the past couple of years.
So business as usual, kind of.
Very much so.
Good. Nice to hear. So is that Andrew Gaffney?
Hey, Bob, how are you? Sorry, I was muted.
Good. Nice to meet you. I don't see your face though, but
I don't know if you want to see my face, but
yeah, come on.
yeah, we're hunkered down, working from home. I'm actually in New Jersey, which is kind of close to the epicenter, but everybody's healthy and doing all right. So we're focusing a lot on trying to work with clients on alternatives to events, which have all been sort of postponed or canceled from March on. So we're doing a virtual version of our B2B MX show that's going to launch in the next couple of weeks.
Nice. Nice. I saw Serious Decisions is going to do a virtual as well.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of it. It's a lot of switch to digital. So we're working on that. My movie recommendation would be Knives Out. I actually watched that last week.
I like that. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Okay, up next is Greg. Oh, you're on mute. There we go.
I am now not on mute.
There you go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Greg Medaglia. I'm the founder of B2Lead. We do, we're located here in Menlo Park, California. We do content syndication for B2B lead generation. Like to deliver most of our stuff if we can on our lead story platform. And business over the last month in March has been kind of feels like, probably many of you are the same way. We're kind of taking it on a weekly basis. The crisis keeps getting kind of ratcheted up every week. Things are getting changed, impacted, and trying to adapt on. So we've kind of trying to adapt on a weekly basis, pretty much. What do we need to do this week to keep moving forward? One of the impacts from our perspective in doing top of funnel lead generation is really having to focus much more on digital versus telemarketing, right? There's so many states now who've had to restrict telemarketing of any kind. We're kind of unclear on all the ramifications of it, all of the particular details on these emergency orders. I would imagine that's impacting some of you out there as well. We prefer to do stuff digitally anyway, but some of the campaigns that we run are complex enough that, they require, the HQL type of campaigns that require more of a human interaction.
Right.
So that's kind of undetermined. I'm not sure fully how that's gonna play out. And imagine some of you are in that same uncertainty as we are. So our planning is around, trying to focus more and more on seeing what we can do in digital. In addition, setting customers' expectations that's going to be the case as well.
Yeah.
So that's a potential topic of discussion as this group continues on into the future. I could say.
Yeah.
As far as entertainment choices, I just finished watching Breaking Bad with my 15-year-old. We loved that. Good business stuff going on in there. Lots of let's just pause, talk about this distribution network or quality of product, those kind of things. So lots of good analogies there. I'm a very, very late comer to Better Call Saul. I tried to get into it, but back after I had originally watched Breaking Bad. But now we've started watching it and I'm hooked. It's gotten enough traction with me that I'm really, really hooked. And then we'll be moving on to Ozark. If anybody hasn't seen Ozark.
Ozark's awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. So you got Narcos, you got Breaking Bad, you got Ozark. I'm pretty well-versed in the drug business now. I'm not sure if that's useful or not, but I think I got it down. So
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Greg. Mikey. So, what is your background? Is that real or pretend? I can't see.
I'm sitting in a Walmart right now.
Oh, that's real. Oh my.
No, it's a Zoom background.
His toilet paper.
Yeah,
hoard.
no, it's like that's his garage. He's fully stocked up with shelving and he's guarding it 24/7. So I get it.
That's pretty funny.
One of those Amazon sellers, right?
How are things, Mikey?
Pretty good. So hi, I'm Mikey Mizrahi. I work at PhD. I'm associate director working on digital demand generation. I work on the SAP business.
Thank you. And how are things going these past few weeks?
Our plans. It's been a lot of business as usual. There's been some pivots and some things that are changing, but the direction is still, there's still a lot of things that are moving. As you all mentioned, the situation is continuously evolving. And as I'm sure some of you have heard, things like Sapphire now have changed. So
Yeah, as messaging changed, so the messaging hasn't changed. It really.
it's in some areas it has, in some it hasn't. There's a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah, as I'm sure. And what's keeping you entertained these days?
I'm currently playing video games and listening to a book. I'm listening to Robert Heelan's the book's called Friday. And I am playing a strategy game called Total War Shogun 2.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. All right, Zach?
Hey guys, nice to be joining you. I'm Zach Jones. I'm the VP of Sales and Client Success with Technology Advice. So we offer lead generation services across a number of different verticals and lines of business: HR, finance, sales and marketing, IT. So we've traditionally offered email and telemarketing service. We recently acquired the B2B portfolio of CoinStreet. So we're now moving into more digital programs, more display, being able to offer content and provide services across a wider portfolio of products. So really excited about that.
Yeah.
For us, it's been, I'll mirror a lot of what Greg and what Chris said. It's been a lot of business as usual. We're very fortunate in the fact that we have a unique call center model, and it's a work from home model. So our call center hasn't been that impacted. I'll say in terms of conversion rates, we're about 9% lower than we would typically be, and it's been varying across the weeks. We've also seen a much higher engagement rate across email and other digital platforms. Probably the biggest negatively impacted piece of our business has been through our review site, where we primarily served SMBs looking for software and also small to medium sized technology providers who we're connecting them with. And that traffic has been significantly impacted more than any other.
So smaller businesses more impacted than enterprise.
Yeah. We've actually, we've seen a lot of the enterprise companies we work with pull their live events and bring it over to content syndication or email programs or programs, and also have done a lot of hosting on-demand webinars and creating that content for our vendors. So that's been a big opportunity.
Oh yeah.
I'd say it's been a net gain for us. We've, across just conversion rates, we've seen public sector be the most impacted: healthcare, education, government. Those are actually, we're setting expectations with our customers that we may not be able to guarantee highest volumes, or we may not be able to hit guarantees.
Oh, they want more than you're able to do?
Well, a lot of them are still operating off their same target account list that they've been giving us over the last, years. And they're very heavily, take Dell, for example, they focus a lot in the healthcare sector, and we're just not getting the responses.
Okay.
The other really mitigating and working through is how we have not traditionally allowed cell phones to be passed through as leads.
Yeah.
But because so many people have their business phones forwarding, we have been allowing that just based on an opt-in basis and confirming this is the number they'd like to be reached at. I would be interested to see how the group is addressing that across their marketing tactics, or what is acceptable. I'd love to say I've been entertaining my mind with a lot of great knowledge or taking business lessons from the shows, but I've just been watching Tiger King and enjoying the controversy of it. I feel I wasn't going to do it, but I felt the FOMO creeping in of everybody else watching it, so I broke down and watched it.
That's pretty fun. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Mark, how are you? Here we go.
There we go. I'm multitasking and doing it poorly. Good morning. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of B2Lead. And one of the things that we had to do during this transition is really go back to our core, which has always started out as being an email marketer. Cleaning up our database, expanding our databases, and making sure they're more active, limiting, like what Zach just said, the audiences as to who we're reaching out to. It's been interesting because it hasn't changed drastically on the amount of business. Now, one of the differences of B to Lead from many others is that we tend to focus solely on what I call the wholesale business. So we tend to focus on that, you know, as Dick Reed used to say, that ugly little secret of supporting other publishers and other in dealing with the agencies and stuff. A lot of our business is not direct. We don't go after some of the big customers because we don't have the infrastructure. So purposely, that's how our model has always been built.
Yep.
So our email activity has gone up drastically with the rules of telemarketing, especially in the major metropolitan areas. That's been shut down. You know, Zach, one of the things you brought up was the legalities of rolling over to a mobile phone.
I thought you would have a thought on that.
Well, it's a gray area right now because when the laws were written for the Telecommunications Act, they didn't talk about follow me roaming, and they didn't talk about auto forwarding like the IP networks do. So you cannot halt someone auto forwarding to a phone, but it even becomes a bigger issue in the lead gen space is GDPR, because you don't know if that person has originated or is residential to a GDPR country. So there's so many more things, rules and regulations we have to be careful about. So we tend to, instead of focusing at all on telemarketing, we have really been pushing 85% of our business in the email side. And the luxury we have is where our lead story platform does content management. So it helps us drastically. And as we see, and as I've talked to other people, the budgets are definitely going to be growing in the content syndication space, solely to exactly what Andrew was talking about, the lack of trade shows, the lack of, human interaction, and even the virtual side, no one even believes that that's going to be 1/10 as accurate and successful as the businesses that are happening today when you were going to B2B Marketing Exchange or to, Marquette, the Adobe Summit or something. So that's what I see right now and talking to my clients and the other publishers out there.
Yeah.
One thing I recommended was I'm a huge Ozark fan, because when I first saw it, I realized that no matter how shitty my life is, it's never that bad. So the value of that, and it came out last week on Sunday, and I pretty much binge watched it and finished it the other night. So I'm on to something new.
No spoilers, please.
Ourselves.
It was a lot of fun. But no, overall for B to Lead, we've been, blessed that things are sort of moving on. And it also gives us a little bit of downtime to start expanding our product line moving forward.
Thank you.
So thank you, Bob.
Yeah. Jordan, how are you? How are you across the pond?
Hey, Bob, I'm good, thanks. I've just noticed that there's some sort of halo lights sort of shining over my head. So maybe if I sit sort of here, there's something to be said. We're good, like everybody on this call, trying to adapt to an unprecedented situation. I think, firstly, from our team environment. So I run a demand gen business, and maybe I'll elaborate why we might be doing something slightly different. But I suppose the first thing is, Bob, thanks for arranging this. Mm-hmm. I think the second thing, there's lots of people on this call that I've worked with or have worked with. There's many more that I'm connected with on LinkedIn, and I've never actually had the chance to speak to you properly. And then there's a splattering of people on here I've always wanted to talk to. So I appreciate you putting the collage of people together. From my perspective, I've been in B2B for probably 15 years. I was on the B2B publishing side, working for a very large B2B publisher in London that nobody's ever heard of. But was responsible for developing demand gen pieces back in sort of 2005, 2006. And then I've ended up running a company that I launched 3.5 years ago called Martech Tracker. And we're a demand gen business that acts a little bit like a publisher. So what we did slightly differently is, rather than phone people up and ask them what leads they were interested or try and serve them content, we spent 2 years phoning up tech leaders, asking what interests they had, how they like to learn, what was their agenda, and we built that with personal firmographic and demographic information. So we spend all of our time managing preference services, and the biggest piece that we've been thankfully able to to leverage during this time is reliance on our preference centers. So we allow all of our data to be able to manage what information they want. So we've seen huge trends towards change of consumption. So to give you an idea, a year ago, less than 1% of our audience, about 3 million tech leaders are in our first party. Less than 1% were interested in podcasts. And in the last 3 weeks, that's now 40%. Yeah. So when they choose how they want to consume information about what subjects, we've seen that shift. Like many of you, in terms of generating demand for our customers are primarily B2B publishers and B2B agencies serving tech communities. Digital has obviously come to the fore. We do have a number of call centers around the world that we partner with, that we've seen the quality of engagement increase, but the volume drop.
Sure.
So I suppose the main thing that we've really focused on is working on our preference centers and how we can generate leads, what I would class in-house organically, by looking at information requests and then matching it with agencies. And I think one of the things that we worked on very hard last year that thankfully has suddenly come to the fore was working with agencies around always on campaigns. So we've typically had 12 months ahead purchase orders with the remit that when somebody pops their head up that fits the remit, that we can serve them that opportunity. And that's allowed us to move forward. But speaking candidly, from a business owner perspective, we transitioned to a remote working far easier than I anticipated, but that's probably because the average age in our business is 23, so they're quite used to sort of shifting quite quickly. That average age, by the way, is when I'm not in it. It shoots up. You put me back in it. But the other thing I was going to say, so from a business owner perspective, cash flow is the big concern. We're fish food compared to where we sit in the chain, so there's a big concern about how that drops down. A lot of big publishers in the UK have made some pretty drastic decisions in the last 2 weeks. I can't think of one B2B publisher in the UK that hasn't made particularly large decisions. Some have let half their workforce go today, so it's pretty drastic. But I suppose the main piece around what we've seen in the last couple of weeks is things like this, speaking to people in a far more meaningful way and connecting with people where you can have conversations that you swim in the same pond and then you don't get the chance to have the conversation. So again, Bob, thanks for putting this together. Just on film recommendations and what I'm getting up to, I've got a 2-year-old daughter. So that basically means that I've only got one film recommendation, but I can recommend it on any platform, and that's Frozen. So if you're not familiar with Frozen, I've ended up down a rabbit hole trying to look at the conspiracy theories about this film, because I have no idea how she would want to sit in front of this for 12 hours a day. I don't get it. I can only really offer Frozen.
What is the other thing? The shark songs?
Yeah, the shark songs. But Bob, that's 2019. That ship has sailed.
Very good. Well, thank you for joining us, Jordan. So I know Samantha has to leave early. Samantha, do you want to jump in? I'm going out of order by
I do have to keep to our original time. So thank you for letting
That's okay.
It's a pleasure meeting everyone. You know, the reality is for us, we run a marketing strategy consulting practice. We work with B2B companies of all different sizes who have complex buying processes, and we work with them in a whole bunch of different ways. But at the end of the day, our business, because our clients' business is not business as usual. Our clients sell things that have very long sales cycles typically, and the reality is that everybody that we sell to has gone into survival mode in some capacity, in some way affecting us and how our day-to-days goes, which means they're not really thinking about the thing I'm going to need in 10 months from now. They've got this much more short-term need. And so in our own practice, but also in the work we're doing with clients, we're still creating content. We're still networking with people. We're still doing things, but we're doing it in the reality of the world we sit in. So our editorial calendar, we internally, we just threw that away. Like, it doesn't matter right now. Someday I'll go back and pick that up. Right now we're creating content that is relevant for an immediate need that people are having. And we're thinking this, this isn't about conversion right now. This is about goodwill. And so we've always believed that we should serve, not sell, but even that now is like amplified, 1,000 times. And, we're spending our time right now working with clients. We've shifted projects. We had a bunch of research work we were in the middle of, asking people to, ask their 2-year-old to go in the other room to answer persona questions for certain kinds of products is the wrong thing to do right now. And so we're going to do that work, but we're not going to do it right now. So we've just refocused the kinds of things that we're focused on for our clients and for buyers. And like I said, we don't actually have a real sales model anyways for our own business. We're really a referral-based business. So, but even with the clients, we're guiding them. It's all about goodwill. It's about reputation. It will, in the long run, and in your sales strategy and your numbers in the long run, if you do that well, will be okay. There are some businesses that will not be okay. There are some restaurants that's not going to make this. There are some software companies who are, launching for the first time. They may not make this hurdle, but I think most of us hopefully will. In terms of fun, I live, eat, and breathe this. So in addition to my professional work, I also host a local cable television show, and which no one here will ever see, nor should you. But but I interview, and I've been helping our mayor and our school superintendent and other charitable organizations get the word out about what's happening in our community, both online through the videotapes, but also through our cable channels, safely taped through Zoom. So I'm living and breathing that. So when I'm done with that, I need to be done with that at the end of my day, and I need a break. So I'm rewatching Parks and Recreation and reading Retta's book. And then, which are awesome, just the funny humor that I need. And I've also recently just finished Matthew Sweezy's Context Marketing Revolution, which is phenomenal. So if you're looking for something that is not related to the current pandemic, but inspires our marketing brains, really, really highly recommended. It's research-based, fabulous work.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'll hang on for a few more minutes, and then as soon as I get the hook, I gotta run.
All right.
So nice to know
Samantha, can you drop the link to the book in the chat?
Yeah, great idea. I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Meredith.
Sure. Just want to echo the thanks to you, Bob, for organizing this. I'm really excited about this. In terms of myself, I'm a account-based strategist lead at Corey, and I also am a managing director there. Corey is a demand marketing firm focused on B2B tech primarily. We have, mid to enterprise size clients for the most part, and we're really actually seeing quite a difference. Some of our clients are being very hard hit and are anticipating significant downturns in revenue, seeing customer, top of funnel, new logo leads drying up. Others are actually, in a really good position. Networking providers, for sure, sort of at an opportune time in terms of a lot of the solutions that they provide, et cetera. So we have a bit of a mixed bag, I guess I would say, in terms of what our clients are facing. In terms of how we're helping them and where we're really being sought right now, it is around scenario planning. So what do we need to think about if this happens, or if we get this cut to our marketing budget? What should that mean as a result? So really helping folks think through and look at, business imperatives, sales goals, how have those changed based upon the new environment, and then altering your marketing mix, your marketing priorities and goals to then support and ladder up to those business and sales imperatives. So doing a lot of that type of work for clients. In terms of the question around what channels are we seeing folks doubling down on, or, reassigning budget to, again, I would say it depends. Certainly some more money into, I would say, SEM, always on. So that sort of blatant product promotion, dialing that back, but being out there still for folks who are seeking and wanting to find, that's a type of shift that we're seeing. Yeah. Social, we're absolutely advising a much different approach there. It's always been more about help, not sell, particularly on social, but just trying to put an underscore around that helpful message, a lot of that thank you type message to frontline workers, essential service workers, those sorts of things. So making sure that, they're being really sensitive to the community. And I think importantly, helping our customers understand what their customers are experiencing and feeling. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to determine how successful their business is, are our clients being sensitive to their customers and their customer needs and changing dynamics. So that's sort of where we're spending our time, focusing and walking arm in arm with clients through this situation. In terms of entertainment, myself and our family, we have quite a penchant for UK-based dramas and mysteries. So The Tunnel, Shetland, Broadchurch, those are some of the ones we really enjoy. Yeah, that's sort of where we're at, and maybe somebody will enjoy some of those too.
Excellent, thank you. So let's see, how about Uki? You're up.
Sure, thanks Bob, and yeah, thanks again for setting this up. So I'm Uki Chong, General Manager for Inbox Insight North America. So it's kind of interesting because I actually just onboarded this team about 4 months ago. So it's kind of interesting transitioning to a new role where you're actually growing a team in this environment too. That small caveat in there. But we do specialize in B2B, content amplification, demand generation type initiatives. We are really going to market trying to look at how we could tie both outbound and inbound organic strategy together, right? To more of an overall holistic approach. What got me really excited is how we are really prioritizing, again, generating more of that hard action to generate that inbound engagement, for our clients. And when you look at that, it really does come down to the common theme that everyone's been touching on, is that digital type mindset that's getting more and more presence in the marketplace, right? I think people are, wanting more transparency, right? Visibility into what's working, what's not, what type of content is really engaging with people. And they want to see that real time more and more. And it's how can we do that effectively on scale, right?
And you're seeing that's still around. That hasn't been impacted. That desire, that need for digital.
Exactly. Because if you can't hone in on generating inbound, that's still hard actions, right? To like a proven result right there. But I think also, again, common theme is, from a challenge, environment perspective, we're seeing, again, certain industry sectors definitely going down. But for example, we have clients that I think someone mentioned it earlier, they lost the event budget, but they have to fill their pipeline, right? With really good, engaged opportunities. So that's where we're actually seeing event budgets opening up more and more too.
That makes sense.
And then from a business side, I touched on this as well, but growing a team in this environment, having a shift, actually, like I recruited new people like literally a week after they had to start working from home, right? So, and that's the BDR side too. So, that type of management is what I've seen is really making sure that everyone across the team knows that everyone's still there, right? We use Microsoft Teams, for example, for collaboration, making those group chats, making it fun, putting contests in place, making things exciting, ongoing, so that people know that we're still moving forward, always.
So that internal communication is a big deal.
Exactly. Favorite movies. I'm going to put that in 2 groups. So one for myself as an adult would be Altered Carbon, Netflix. I love that show.
Altered.
Now for the Carbon. So I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's a little bit sci-fi-ish. It is. Now with the family, okay, I'm going to say right now, it's a big Korean drama type thing. So if you guys don't watch Korean dramas, there's some good ones out there. One that we recently saw was Crash Landing. It was really good.
Oh, good. Thank you, Uki. So does anybody else need to leave? Because we are going to go a bit over than I was hoping. But
I have to get off, but it's wonderful to see everybody. I'm Teresa Carrigal. And Bob, great job on putting this together. And I
tell us more, Teresa. Thank you.
Next time.
So tell me, you have some time now. You're up.
My company is focused in partner alliances and channels, strategy, program development, primarily with vendors and distributors, and then education. We do leadership education for the tech industry, and it's all virtual video-based education, so we're going full force with that right now. And if there's anything at all that I can do to help any of you, please let me know. We are going to be publishing with CompTIA some brand new research around partner experience, and I want to share that with all of you.
Excellent. So what kind of impacts are you seeing these days?
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty powerful.
So,
the one message I'll leave you with is if you have partners or clients, don't focus on selling products. Focus on their businesses and how you help them with their businesses. That was one of the big themes.
You mean like being customer centric?
There you go. Amen.
Something like that.
Yeah. Great. Well, thanks you all.
Thanks, Teresa. Thanks for happening. Okay, Vin, you're up.
Hey, Bob. Thanks for having me, and thanks everyone for joining. My name is Vin Turk.
Thanks for being had.
I'm the co-founder, chief operating officer of Madison Logic. We've been around for a little over 15 years, helping B2B organizations amplify and really expand their content and their brand message across a variety of different digital mediums, notably video, mobile, native, and content through syndication practices. And as their prospects begin to engage with their content, convert into leads and opportunities, our platform then responds dynamically to shift the messaging strategy into the right personas, ultimately helping them to convert their accounts in a more efficient manner. We recently plugged right into LinkedIn, and that's another channel that has been really top of mind for many of our clients. It's interesting in this environment, as kind of already echoed by a number of folks, we're seeing a tremendous amount of event and conference budgets moving online, but at the same time, they're really taking a thoughtful approach rather than just simply saying, let's go after all the folks and the companies that we're going to attend our events. Let's really now refine it down to organizations and industries that are more likely to still be in that purchase mindset, because certain industries are just, they're not even open, so they can't conduct business in certain manners. That kind of leaves them in a position where they can evaluate new solutions. So what we're seeing is this recalibration occurring across our customer base of where they're positioning their content, which of the personas, which of the types of companies. And because we're a global organization with offices in London, Dublin, Singapore, and throughout the US, it's really interesting to see the differences or the nuances within those regions of how they're kind of shifting their focus. Part of what we're doing to help them with that is providing a tremendous amount of research around the intent data that we have access to help them understand which of those specific businesses are showing heightened levels of research around their brand, around their solutions, as well as their competitors, to then really focus in on the meat and cut out the fat. I think many of our clients are taking a risk-averse position now in terms of testing out new partners, but at the same time, they're doubling down on the partners that they've come to trust and have seen performance over the years. So that's actually resulted in a record quarter of bookings for us in Q1, which is great to see, but also somewhat surprising, because you would expect marketers to be pulling back, generally speaking, a little bit. It's been really interesting to see how it's impacted organizations. We work across B2B enterprise technology, but also within healthcare, financial services, marketing technology, and sales operations. On the entertainment side, we're rewatching a lot of old shows. We started The Office all over again. My wife and I love that. The kids are just burning through Disney Plus, every movie they can get their hands on. Onward, Frozen, they released Frozen 2 again. On the book side, I was recommended this book. I don't think it's new. It's called I Am Pilgrim. It's a fiction book. Really interesting, kind of like murder mystery. But then I'm just kind of dusting the books from the old shelf off. Few that came to mind is The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz, which is a fantastic read about kind of guiding organizations through turbulent times, making really tough decisions to ensure that your business can stay alive. Measure What Matters, John Doerr, is another fantastic one. And then one that I read in college by Andy Grove from Intel is High Output Management, which is kind of one of the Bibles that I refer to there. I don't think he's on the line anymore, but Peter Isaacson from Demandbase had a fantastic background, if anyone noticed it, from True Romance, the scene with Christopher Walken and Dennis Hopper. It's another classic that I would recommend as well. Thanks again for having me.
I was going to ask him who his social encounters there were there. Thank you, Vin. Appreciate it. So are we going to lose? Does anybody else need to run off? Because I would like to get them in before they leave.
Yeah, I got to get off in a minute too.
Okay, Jeff, go for it.
So, hey, thanks again, Bob, for having me. I'm Jeff Pedowitz. I'm president and CEO of the Pedowitz Group. We are a hands-on consulting firm that specializes in helping our clients with their greatest revenue challenges, working primarily with business transformation, digital transformation, and building a better customer experience. It's been very much of an interesting year so far. I think probably mirror some of the things that Ben was saying. We had a record first quarter, but we're starting to see a lot of different types of movement in our customers. So we do work predominantly with mid and enterprise-sized clients. So we are seeing a slowdown in big start projects like migrations and system enablements and integrations and data warehousing. But we're seeing an acceleration of demand gen campaigns, email marketing, digital marketing, moving physical events to online events. And we are also starting to see a lot more managed services and staff log as our clients' businesses are changing. So those are probably some of the trends that I would say.
Yeah, so they're not buying anymore, but they are executing more and more digital.
Yeah, we're also starting to see, and our clients that we work with a lot on tech advisory are asking for help with restructuring and renegotiating some of their contracts with whether it might be Salesforce or Adobe.
So is the messaging shifting toward helping versus selling, or is it still selling?
Well, I mean, I think we've always tried to take more of a helpful approach anyway. I think if you do come off, I mean, I think almost everyone is trying to come off as empathetic, but I think you can quickly overuse it too much if you're just using it as just another excuse to set up a sales call. I think if you're generally trying to help, whether it's sending people SBA information or helping them get networked or helping them get supplies, and that's your main purpose. It's the same advice I would give people that go to networking events. I mean, look, if you go to a networking event and you're just going to look for a job or to get business, you're going for the wrong reasons, and you're just never going to have the same success. If you truly go to a networking event to truly help people network and help them make connections, then it will get paid back in spades going forward. So I think it's the same thing here. I think you got to be careful not to overuse the, hey, we're all in this together kind of thing. Now buy for me, you know.
It doesn't come out sincere.
Yeah.
And that you're a Penn State graduate.
Yeah. Penn State.
I mean, that's your only drawback, right?
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to mention the Cowboys there, Teresa.
I was, except for I gave him a good referral. Hopefully that works into something. And they both ended up being Penn State graduates. So.
Yes. Penn State, proud Penn State grad, Bachelor of Science in Marketing. So, yeah. But it's we're also seeing a big demand and uptick for training and skill development. And it is unfortunate, but as unemployment rates start to go up and people are looking to retool and skill and get ready for the next job, there's a big surge in demand for picking up digital skill training for marketers, technology training on some of the core platforms.
Okay.
And I have seen a lot of great moves by the major vendors and Digital Marketer and others that are just providing free training, like Adobe's doing it now. I think Salesforce is starting to do it. So if you are out there and you are looking to just upgrade your skills, I think there are some great firms out there that are providing free training for the next 60 to 90 days. And I would encourage you guys to take advantage of it.
Beautiful. And movies?
Movies. Well, I was probably one of the last holdouts for Tiger King. We started watching it last night and got hooked on that. Our youngest daughter, 15, has got my wife and I into Dance Moms, so we're actually halfway through season 3, and that is strangely addicting. So, but yeah, just good show. But I honestly don't have much more time for anything else than that, because it's a lot to do running a business and keeping up with your wife and kids.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for having.
Thank you, everybody, and Bob. Thanks for having and everyone. It's a pleasure hearing your stories, and I'm looking forward to doing this again next week.
Thank you, Jeff.
When you get through season 9 of Dance Moms, let's see if you think the same thing.
You got a veteran over there.
Wait, there's 9 seasons? Oh, God. Okay.
It goes on forever, and every show is exactly the same.
That's funny. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right, Kevin?
Hi, I'm Kevin Flint. I'm Group Media Director at Just Media. We're an independent full-service ad agency based out of the Bay Area in California, also with an office in Austin, Texas. Our bread and butter is in B2B tech. We also do a lot of work in B2C, but a lot of brand and demand programs, media, data, and creative, and B2B tech especially. We obviously cover a pretty wide swath of media channels and stuff like that. So I'll try to cover a few of the, I guess, high-level trends that we're seeing right now among our clients. As others have mentioned, there's certainly been some hot categories and some colder categories. Our clients that are involved in security, remote work, business continuity, all those types of things. It's been super, super hot. Others are maybe trying to figure out how they go to market right now. Do they slow down? Do they pivot? Certainly we see kind of a demarcation in segments based on what you offer. Those that are in those hot categories have been super urgent to get into market with new messaging. So our timeline for planning has gone from weeks to days to hours. There's been, videos filmed over weekends that started as a whiteboarding session on a Friday and they're on TV on Tuesday, things like that. But certainly with CEOs and CMOs involved, even at public companies. So that's a very different trend. There's a sense of urgency and.
So is there more money being spent or just more urgency?
So far, what we're seeing is reallocation of other planned funds moving forward and getting to market right now with hey, this might be additional. We don't know. We don't have time to figure it out. They just know they have money that's existing right now and it has to be used for purpose right now.
Right.
So this, we need to see how this turns out after this initial action happens because there's some pent up need to get out there. Branding's been really the major focus, to be honest with you. The demand activities have been ongoing as planned for the most part. The brand effort and really with purpose-driven branding has been the change.
The branding means there's no ROI per se. It's just getting the name out.
Well, doesn't mean that. We know what the world is right now, right? Brand dollars do have to show some activity, but the idea is, clients are saying we have to get out there and tell how we can help our customers during this time, as opposed to here's all the things that we sell you. And a lot of the content and creative was not for the time. So there's been a lot of refresh and a need to get out there and say, we're here to help you and to be a resource instead of the same tone they may have had 2 months ago. A lot of our clients are very focused on social listening to see how this is resonating. And so they're listening to, what's being said on Facebook and LinkedIn. Are we being perceived well as we're still marketing, or are we getting hit by trolls? They're very hypersensitive to perception of are we going to get nailed for trying to sell our way through COVID, for example? So there's sensitivity. We have seen, anecdotally from clients that some deals are speeding up and being very hot in the pipeline. Others are slowing down. Anecdotally, again, the Fortune 1000 I'm hearing are having more of an impact on slowing down deals versus smaller companies. Maybe the digital transformation that has to happen among smaller companies maybe is able to be faster. And from a media mix perspective, and our advice to our clients has been, and we're seeing this, is diversification. Huge rise in TV among B2B, not Dell, not IBM, but smaller B2B companies where we're suddenly doing YouTube, connected TV, and for the first time with B2B clients as a way to get out there. Nielsen reported 85% rise in streaming hours the first 3 weeks of March.
So more video.
That's massive. And YouTube's seen a spike. And so we have brands that otherwise never would have had a conversation about TV, at least not yet.
So I would think that the event money could be moving toward webinar type of moves.
Potentially, I think the challenge we see is calendars are full. And I know we all feel that, I think, personally in our own lives. I think there's going to be a real inventory crunch among attendees. Where do you get that time on somebody's calendar? Because
people are too busy.
Everything that shifted from a 5-minute tap on the shoulder to a 30-minute Zoom, we have to, I think, culturally change some of our norms about ending meetings early and not having them be scheduled in quite the same structure. I do anticipate some challenge in actual attendance and time spent in some of these virtual environments if we oversaturate the market.
Right.
So we're very, cautious about not moving every live event dollar into virtual, and let's see how some of these platforms perform against others.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. In my entertainment recommendation, I love the Tony Kornheiser Show podcast, if anybody's familiar. Sports, politics, pop culture. And if you want to hear a host do live reads against his will, it's hilarious. It's so bad, it's great. And
That sounds good. I need a diversion.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for joining. Okay, so Harry, you didn't go yet, right?
Nope.
Let's go for it.
Okay. I'm Harry Gold. I am CEO of Overdrive Interactive. We are a Boston-based digital marketing firm, and we do all things digital. So we specialize in all the letters, right? ABM, demand gen, SEO, SEM, all that stuff, right? Which are really, if you dig down into it, the same ingredients all put together different ways. So
it's all
essentially,
lead gen.
right, it's all lead gen, but it's also in terms of skills, in terms of the mix of skills that you have to have under one roof to keep all those demand gen balls in the air, everything from media to paid media, earned media, you know, your creative, your analytics, and the Marcom stack powering all that stuff. That's really what we have, is sort of this giant creative and marketing ops media crew, and companies kind of bolt us right on. So we do, you know, you could perceive us as a standard digital marketing ad agency where people just hire us to run their campaigns and things like that. But a lot of our clients have really kind of realized, oh, these guys can run Tag Manager, do nurture campaigns, or all of that stuff. So we're you know, for some of our clients, we're a standard, you know, we're their SEM firm or we run their media. And other ones, they're like, yeah, that's our digital ops team. Because we're in Boston, we grew up doing B2B. So lots of B2B clients like Dell, RSA, Mimecast, GE, Acquia, folks like that. But we ended up taking that whole lead gen measured marketing approach many years ago to the B2C world, and we picked up clients like Samsonite and Harley and people who wanted that same level of accountability. So that's kind of us in a nutshell, your basic, you know, digital ops crew doing everything to keep the balls in the air. And no two clients are quite the same in terms of matching their in-house skills with, you know, with our outsourced skills. So wide variety of relationships with our clients. I think what we're seeing, and my original question was like, what's going away and what's coming in? I mean, we are definitely seeing our B2C clients just bring the guillotine down on stuff. I mean, we have clients who are health clubs or daycares. They're not looking to bring new people in. I mean, we didn't get fired, right? But they all hit the pause button on a lot of programs. Some are keeping SEO alive because they know that's a future investment anyway. Where we are seeing, so we're seeing some shrinkage in that area. But because probably 80% of our business is B2B, we're, knock on wood, you know, not really feeling much pain yet. So we're seeing a lot of clients actually retreat into those things that they know historically have worked. So obviously things like their paid search channels and their custom audiences and the demand gen channels with, you know, the various syndication options out there, anything that has historically worked, they seem to have really stepped on the gas there. And we are seeing migration dollars come in. We have a client who's about to do a big airport, you know, digital signage or digital out of home across the nation's airports.
Not so much.
That's off. They handed us the money and said, how are you going to spend it this quarter? So that was like, you know, we're getting situations like that. I'd say overall, we're probably holding our own between stuff that's gone away and stuff that has come in. We made the transition to remote in one day, and we realized that most of our tech B2B clients were already working from home before the COVID thing. So it feels like it's sort of business as usual. I mean, there's a lot of that going on. So that's what we're seeing in the marketplace. But again, we are seeing people retreat into those things that they know work. And we have not really pushed a lot of like sort of playing off the COVID disaster here. I think people have been pushing for us, a lot of their standard value props, because a lot of our clients are in infrastructure and security and cloud and all of that. So they're really fulfilling a lot of these work at home needs right now. We're actually we have about 42 clients, 3/4 of them are tech B2B. We are seeing clicks and conversion rates actually go up for many of our clients. So that's, you know, that's kind of good news. I would say, so that's sort of the kind of who we are and what I do. I would say for entertainment, it's tough. A lot of things have been mentioned. Obviously Tiger King. I didn't want to watch that either, but then people told me it was actually insane, and which it is. So obviously Tiger King, Narcos, all 3 seasons, definitely an expert on drug lords now.
People have similar feelings.
Can't wait for the version with El Chapo to come out.
That's really funny.
And then, but I will say there's something a little more obscure I would tell people to watch. It's called What We Do in the Shadows.
Love that
And it's
show.
like the real world meets vampires, done by the guys who did Flight
I
of the
see a lot
Conchords.
of head shaking on that one.
It's hilarious. So
Thank
there's a
you.
movie, and then on Hulu, I think they have, and I haven't seen the 3rd season. I'm ready to load that up. So What We Do in the Shadows would be something that I feel is definitely worthwhile.
Thank you for sharing, Harry.
Checking out. Okay.
Hey Harry. Hey Harry. Start with the movie or start with the show?
Start with the movie for sure.
Yeah.
You got to see the movie first.
Okay. Nikki, are you still there?
Hey, Bob, just real quickly, I got to drop. Mark looks like he already dropped. We've gone off to the same meeting. Just real quickly on books. There's a book by a gentleman named Nassim Taleb. I put it in the chat. So he's kind of the guy who came up with, the original book called Black Swan, which pretty much covers this event that we're going through right now. So his last book is called Anti-Fragile, and it's the 3rd in the series of his refined thoughts on Black Swan events. A lot of the stuff in there is pretty applicable to understanding in general terms about how to be anti-fragile, as he describes it. And he reads the book with a fair amount of vulgarity in it, so it's kind of it's interesting to listen to if you listen to it. But if you're into this kind of thing, it's economic analysis, general philosophies on being adaptable in economics. It's an easy listen, so just throw it out there. It's applicable.
Thank you,
to what we're
Greg.
going through right now.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much, Bob, for this. This was awesome.
My pleasure. So, Nikki, did you leave? Okay, I lost Nikki, I think. So let's see, who else? We're down to, let's see. So Ross, and is Ross a lot?
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
Yes, hey Ross.
So I'm on the UK side of Inbox Insight. I'm the head of demand generation.
Oh,
and
welcome.
Thanks. It was great to meet everybody. I'm going to absolutely stalk you all on LinkedIn in like 20 minutes. So get ready. So my conversations with I do a couple of things here. So I look after the content strategy and strategic marketing planning for some of the more digital programs and digital experiences we do, and that has been a really interesting ride because some people, some clients want to go completely business as usual, and they view the value that they bring is sort of twinned with the consistency. So they're sort of starting to deliver more content or similar content using the same channels, or just starting to involve more digital within their mix, or beginning to consider things like co-branded assets or market research or publishing, so that they've sponsored something on our platform, IFP. The other side of what I've seen is where, I won't say which brand, but a popular ride-sharing app, let's call it. We're having a conversation with them the other day, and that, how do they adapt to a world where cities are on lockdown? So it really does run the gambit. It depends on what type of end of a digital or tech organization you are, but some of the brands that we work with and that we don't work with yet, or the people that are looking around for new solutions to big scary problems, are really taking a deep look at their content strategy and trying to understand, do we add value in a new way, or do we not have the authority to talk about that without people thinking that we're just climbing on a bandwagon and we should wait? So I think over the coming months, we're going to see brands, they're going to redeploy their budgets, but they also might redeploy their content and their thinking and what they put out there. From the publisher side, we essentially have a content publishing platform called Insights for Professionals. It's how we generate our intent data, how we let people sign up and set their interests, and how we watch what they engage with, and have all our analytics stats. In the last month, the consumption of remote working content has gone up by 106%, which is sort of what you'd expect. Everybody's suddenly scrambling for advice. So the first thing we did was sort of bring all of those resources into one sort of hub environment where people can watch the video from Microsoft Teams or read 3 different pieces of content, and that's cross-function. So that's how the IT guy can secure the remote workers, and how the HR person can ensure that people are feeling their wellness and keep mental health and spirits high. And that's had a good result, and that's something that we've tried to allow everybody to essentially just publish on a platform for free to try and become a single source of truth for that business community that's looking around for ways to adapt to the new normal. But we're hoping to have a market research survey go out to the community about how they're handling COVID-19 and what they're doing about it. So I'll try and share the results of that as soon as I get them in a couple of weeks' time.
Thank you, Ross. I appreciate it.
I think it's going to be interesting. We've got one of the ladies on my team had made a really good decision, I think, with the copy there to include questions that have an emotional core as well as a practical business sense. So it's got, have your projects been delayed by a certain number of months based on this, but it's also got, do you feel lonely? Because it's an interesting dynamic now as we see our sort of personal and business lives collide. And as marketers, we need to sort of be sensitive to that. And as you said, be customer centric and deliver some longer term content value on their terms as they get to grips with the new sort of professional rhythm that we've all fallen into. But yeah, I want to say exciting times, but certainly interesting times. So
yeah.
And Netflix-wise, I've watched a really cool show called Explained. It's like short 20-minute documentaries by Vox that take you through loads of weird subjects. There's one on diamond mining by De Beers, and I used to be a jeweler, so I was just sort of sucked onto the TV for like 20 minutes, all about how they basically how monopolies work. But yeah, check it out. That's really good.
Thank you.
It's a great series, that, Ross. I've just
it's awesome. Really
seen
good.
quite a lot of it. It's a really good series.
Yeah, I stopped on the pandemic episode. I don't know why. I just sort of, I got up to the one about global pandemics and I thought, you know what? No, I'll stop there. But the rest of it was fantastic.
Thank you. So, Jillian, we can't see you, but we can hear you, right?
Hi, yes, I'm still here. I'm sorry you guys can't see me, but hopefully for the next one. It's been really interesting to hear you all talk through all of this, just because I'm coming at this from eMarketer, where we obviously are a B2B business and we're trying to serve our clients who are hungry for information like this. Essentially, what should I do? So I'm producing content for them in order to help them better understand how they pivot their strategies. And it's been challenging just because most of our research is long lead, and we're trying to make sure that we have the appropriate data, and the landscape is shifting so rapidly. So making sure that we're still using a valid methodology and we're still producing sound and prescriptive advice for our clients, and not getting caught up in a lot of the hype that's going on right now, and making sure that anybody that's reading my content or the content of my other colleagues knows that they can trust what they're reading. So that's where a lot of my work has been spent right now. From a business perspective, I mean, I'm not in sales or accounts here, but I know that clients are hungry. We have some renewals coming in because we're really offering a service right now to the companies that really don't understand, what to do, and they are pretty uncertain about the future. So trying to just add as much practical advice and guidance to our clients as we can in a way that fits in with the eMarketer methodology. I've been working on an account-based marketing report, and actually Meredith Fuller, who I know already left, is one of the sources in that report, and it's publishing on Monday, and it's bittersweet because a lot of the content in there is super relevant, but it's a new world that we live in now, and figuring out how to do these strategies, in this new environment is something that's interesting to see. I'm also going to be updating, we do a forecast at eMarketer every year on the US B2B digital ad market, and I'm going to be looking for interview sources to talk to me about how their budgets have shifted. We could do that off the record. So if anybody on this call or anybody listening to this recording wants to talk to me, I'd love to do that, because our goal is to get a real estimate out there on market sizing and figure out how the market has shifted, not, with the pandemic, with the COVID-19 outbreak, but just in general, how it's evolved year over year. So just trying to do a lot of research. Glad to be connected with all of you, because you guys are really knowledgeable, and I've learned a lot just kind of listening in over the last hour. In terms of what I'm watching, I actually moved in the middle of the pandemic and living in the epicenter. So we didn't have internet or cable for 4 days. So I'm looking forward to reading all of the stuff that you guys, reading and watching all the stuff you guys have recommended. So Tiger King, I think, will be the lead on that.
That's pretty funny. So thank you, Jillian. And for Jillian and everybody else, if you've got some good content or good questions or whatever you want to ask the audience, happy to include those on the webpage that we developed for this. And so we'll put links on there to whatever we make sense to educate people, promote things and so forth that are relevant for the topic. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Yeah, so has everybody had a chance to talk? Everybody except for me. Who? Did I hear something? No. So, so thank you all. So we had a lot of people fall off. Let me show you a few things. So there's a lot of charts out there. Here's a chart that's relevant to what's going on. This is a chart showing how much time we're spending looking at exponential charts.
One of my favorites, Bob.
One of my favorite. That's a good one. So, and then the other thing I wanted to share with you is some information from a survey, and I'll publish this to you. I'll give you the website and the sources. But 120 different agencies were surveyed and talked about how things are going. Things are slightly negative for them now. Some it's better. Some more is worse, but it's not particularly disastrous yet. By the marketing services, media planning and buying has got hit the hardest by far. Paid search, all the SEO, SEM has taken some hits overall. Lead gen's down, but not as much, but still down. PR is way up, and web design. So those are continuing or needing to happen more. From a B2B versus B2C standpoint, B2C has, as some of you mentioned, has been hit much harder than B2B. B2B is not nearly as hit yet. I didn't share my screen. So I didn't share my screen. I did. No, let me do that. Nobody said anything. Okay. So can you see now?
Yes.
Yep, it's up there.
Okay. So this is showing B2C's hit much harder than B2B. And this is showing media planning, search, and so forth is hit the hardest. Lead gen 2, PR, and web design is actually doing okay. And overall, people are saying that things are kind of fine. A little down, but not disastrous. Some up even.
Bob, just on the charts that you put up and the sort of general feel in the room, I mean, I'm pretty much everybody is in the game of demand gen on various different levels. The general sense seems to feel that we're sort of all right across the industry. It sort of feels okay. And if you were to put a long line of industries, I think we'd all hopefully assume that we'd be in the top echelon of those that have got a better chance of coming out through this or certainly seeing our time through this. The thing I wanted to ask, and I've spoken to a lot of agencies in the UK and many publishers, is there a naivety around this, or is it self-comfort that we think we're all right, or is it all right? Because everybody on this call has given me more confidence, and a lot of what you've mentioned echoes true with us. But is there a naivety playing out, and we're just the last to be hit by this, or is there a general sense that we're B2B, we're in the main in demand, and it might look a bit different, and we're going to have to adapt, but we'll sort of be all right? I'd be really
it's early now, right? It's only been a few weeks, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I think as people too, right, guys? You know, we're human, right? We got to move forward, right, guys? You know, always moving forward. If we take the mindset, hey, this is end of the world type of situations, you know, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? You know, that's going to kind of be a self-fulfilled prophecy, right? Is, you know, we as a team need to be like, hey, we're going to plow through this, keep the momentum, keep moving forward, you know, and we're going to help people in the process. But, you know, we can't just sit down and lie down and do nothing, right? And think that the worst is going to happen.
You know, there's also been studies.
If you look back on, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say there's been a number of studies that have shown in times of crisis, whether it's in the, you know, the financial meltdown, .com era, or other times where there's a lot of uncertainty, when companies are pulling back, the ones that actually double down on their advertising and their messaging come out significantly stronger than those that did not participate in that. Now, obviously, you've got to have a strong organization, a strong balance sheet to do that participation. But if you can use that to your leverage, because you're going to gain more share of voice in the times when your competitors step back, then when folks come out of this, when companies come out of this, they're going to look and say, you know what, that brand's more top of mind. I'm already more familiar with the solutions. And just statistics have shown that they're in a much more stronger financial position.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say something similar to that. If you look historically, it's nearly like an accelerator. When you brake very hard and go down very fast. When you accelerate fast. Also, there's more eyeballs on these media than ever before. I mean, so people are watching much more stuff. They're tuning into much more stuff. They're sharing much more stuff. So there's kind of an acceleration. So I think there's three type of companies. There's the brake hard. There's the deer in the headlights, don't do anything, don't approve anything. And there's those that will make some decisions. And so for us as B2B agencies or consultants, we got to identify those companies that are willing to do something and willing to invest and willing to be strategic, because if we spend our time in the deer in the headlights, we'll get nothing. And if we spend our time in the brake hard companies, all they do is cancel stuff. So we have to be very selective, I think, in terms of where we find growth.
From a pricing perspective, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say that the deer in the headlights moment is really interesting. We've already heard about how companies that target others, so within B2B, ones that target small business audience, which we've got a large sort of audience of. We haven't seen dips in that spend that much, especially in the UK market. But it's interesting that as that ripple effect hits smaller businesses, will we see those larger organizations, by which they're a large customer base for them, how fast will they adapt and how will they adapt to support that customer base? Similarly with healthcare, like I've still had the same tech vendors give us the same tech requirement briefs with the same target account list, which has majority healthcare, government and education briefs through. So the planning cycle hasn't yet caught up to the adaptation, but the individuals that we speak with and the specialists in media buying agencies and client side, everybody's fully aware of that. So it's almost like the big ships still need to turn, and will they be paralyzed in that decision making? I don't know, but I think in our particular sort of role in this is to help them with the knowledge and with the data to make those decisions quickly and effectively.
It's interesting because you can see a correlation to kind of like the oil markets with the advertising spend, where the supply side is just booming in the amount that's coming on the market, but the demand has dropped off a cliff because not many people are on airplanes, much less people are driving to work. So there's this just massive glut of inventory out there, and look at the price of oil now. And then you look at the advertising side and everyone's in front of their computers, everyone's staying home. The number of impressions that are available to bid on or buy has skyrocketed. Yet if people are pulling back from it, then there's less demand. So there's less, activity happening on the auction side, and prices aren't nearly as much as if there was more demand there.
Yeah.
Good opportunity. That's what it means.
I'm so glad you all said this, because I put my head above the water and put an article on LinkedIn sort of saying that you've got to plow through this, and you've just validated it and allowed me to sleep easy tonight. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jordan, if I'm right, give me credit. If I'm wrong, don't mention my name at all.
Yeah, but we're not originating the budgets though. None of us is really, and Kevin, I guess, is the closest to it because you're acting on behalf of the people. I mean, they're saying here's some money or not.
I think my guidance to my own team on this and to my clients has been in B2B at least. I also work in B2C, but in B2B we have to remember there's a layer in between our customer and the impact of these economic downturns. If you own a bar or a pub, you feel the pain day one. If you're an enterprise software vendor, it's not until the customers of your customers feel the pain and start to change their behaviors. There's a bit of a delayed reaction. And so what we've been guiding is especially if you're in a hot market, is yes, continue on, but don't assume that your strategy is still working. You still have to act as if you need to change and adapt because you may not be seeing the negative signals yet. And so pay very close attention to purchase intent signals, behaviors, all those BDR conversations where you're being told, yes, let's talk now, or no, leave me alone, I can't deal with you right now. You have to be very hyper aware of those signals, and the old nurture tracks and marketing automation tracks and things that worked a few months ago should be mothballed, because you have to act, with a sense of urgency and listening to data, and don't assume that things are great just because your budget may cut you. It's a bit of proactivity, and those brands that do that will be much stronger through this. The example was given of previous downturns, than those that don't change anything and just wait for the impact to hit. So hopefully the more adept marketers and those that have the resources to do so will continue to invest in new brand, new content, smart demand gen tactics, really fine tuning how they do things and not just throwing money into, purely top of funnel, massive volume stuff, and being very smart about how they do these things. That's the key to all of it. And we might start to see more pain in B2B in 2 weeks, in 2 months. Can't think we're immune. But if we're smart, we can mitigate the problems there and even find some opportunities.
That's good. So it's still optimistic overall. At least that's what I heard. So
you have to be. I mean, what's the alternative, right?
So far, so good. So thank you all. So I'd like to do this again. And even next week, I'd like to suggest that we have a subset. I don't know if we need as many people, or maybe we can use more. I'm going to switch to a webinar format where we can invite people who are not panelists to be able to listen in. And I'll reach out to each of you to figure out what topics are you interested in. So I'll group you up into the topics that you're interested in. I think that's a good way to go. Any topics or thoughts what you'd like a next topic to be, or a deeper dive into?
Maybe we'll marinate on it and send you some thoughts over email.
Thank you.
Yep, and really quick note, Bob, you did make me the host for this one, so I have the recording on my side. Once I get the recording, I'll send it over to you, my friend.
Thank you. Oh my.
So you can distribute it to the group.
I appreciate that. Thank you for that. All right.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
We'll
Thanks very much.
with you something promotable. All right.
Thanks very much. Cheers, Bob.
Cheers.
Great connecting, everyone. Thank you.